Members of the Peabody Institute Advisory Board, distinguished guests, faculty, staff, and alumni of the Peabody Institute, and of course, members and families of the graduating class of the Peabody Conservatory. It is my pleasure to welcome you to the Peabody Conservatory's 143rd graduation exercises, which are part of the commencement exercises closing the Johns Hopkins University's 149th academic year. I offer my heartiest congratulations to each and every one of our graduates here today. I am delighted to see so many parents, relatives, and friends here to celebrate with you, our graduating students. And I know that your loved ones have shared in every challenge and every success that you've experienced throughout your time here at Peabody. You could not have achieved that which we celebrate today without their counsel and support. So to the families of our graduates, we say thank you. I also want to recognize and thank our outstanding faculty for the critical and guiding role they have played in bringing you, our students, to this point today. We owe you a debt of gratitude for your great commitment to our students. I am honored to now present Carl Sagan Medal winner, Professor of Physics and Astronomy, and the 16th Provost of Johns Hopkins University, Ray Jayawardena, with a greeting on behalf of the university.
Good morning, everyone. Good morning. It's truly a pleasure to be here today to offer my warmest congratulations to the Peabody Conservatory class of 2025. To our graduates, we celebrate not just the culmination of your hard work, dedication, and artistry, but the beginning of a new journey on which you will share your gifts with the world. To your families, friends, teachers, and mentors, thank you for helping these remarkable artists hone their skills, grow in confidence, and flourish. As an astrophysicist, I might seem like an improbable presence at a conservatory graduation, but I feel right at home because the arts and astronomy have a long and intertwined history. The ancient Greeks believed the cosmos was permeated by a harmonious and inaudible music, spawned by the movement of celestial bodies. Pythagoras imagined whirling worlds in the heavens, making up a cosmic ensemble, producing and dancing to the music of the spheres. Astronomer Johannes Kepler drew upon these ideas when he wrote Harmony of the Worlds in 1619, pondering musical ratios as he derived laws of planetary motion. But one of my favorite intersections of astronomy and music came into being in the summer of 1977, when NASA launched the twin probes Voyagers 1 and 2 to explore the outer reaches of our solar system. Attached to each spacecraft was a time capsule in the form of a phonograph record, etched in copper and plated in gold. It was called the Golden Record. Its purpose was to communicate something about who we are, about our life on Earth, about our humanity, in the highly unlikely event that one day the record might encounter a listener. Each record contains the sights and sounds of our planet, from natural sounds like thunderstorms, howling winds, songs of humpback whales, to intimate human moments, a kiss on the cheek, laughter, a mother's first words to her newborn baby, as well as greetings in 59 human languages. Among the record's 116 images is a dancer caught in mid-motion, an expression of our vitality frozen in a single frame. And finally, there's music, 90 minutes of it. The late, great planetary scientist Carl Sagan, who oversaw the Voyager project, was especially excited about what it meant to share music with other beings. We are feeling creatures, he wrote, and music, he believed, was the most credible way to convey something of the depth and complexity of human emotion. After all, why say it with a note card when you can say it with a playlist? Working with ethnomusicologists and historians, Sagan and the team curated a selection that reflects the astonishing range of human music, from a Beethoven symphony to Mexican mariachi, Peruvian panpipes, and a Navajo night chant, from Bach's Brandenburg Concerto to the blues by Blind Willie Johnson, a Chinese Qin to Chuck Berry's Johnny B. Good. Selecting what to include was, in the words of the producer, exhausting, involving, and utterly delightful work. No doubt you graduates can relate. As much as the Golden Record can be read as a bid for cosmic connection, and indeed it was, the chances of it being heard out there are vanishingly small. But it was always guaranteed at least one audience, us. In that way, it's both a message and a mirror, revealing something fundamental about our humanity. Specifically, that we humans inhabit a small planet orbiting a medium-sized star, pretty insignificant in the vastness of space and the immensity of time, to borrow another phrase from Sagan. And yet, there's something within us so expansive, so expressive, that we need to give voice and form to what we feel, to our longing, our searching, our grief, our joy, into something we can offer to others. Of course, Saturday Night Live had its own take on this esoteric endeavor. In a 1978 skit, Steve Martin imagined that aliens, upon receiving the record, replied with a simple, earnest, four-word message: "Send more Chuck Berry." Even that joke points to something true, a wink at the idea that music might be our most powerful ambassador. Music and dance are universal languages that transcend borders, backgrounds, perhaps even species. And that's what we are here to celebrate today, your devotion to these most essential forms of human expression. Not all people are born with the particular gifts that you have, the gifts of expressing yourselves through music and movement. And believe me, they are gifts. But even those of us who lack your talent still need to find ways to translate what we are feeling to connect us with others. That is what you, artists, offer us. Whether through a soaring melody or sweeping arabesque, you are the architects of emotional connection. Your work has the power to heal, to inspire, to make us weep or jump up and dance for joy. You have the gifts of transforming emotion into sound and shape, of making something deeply personal and at the same time profoundly shared. And now you carry those gifts out to the world. The Voyager spacecraft are still out there, by the way, over 15 billion miles from Earth and counting, carrying our music and that image of a dancer into the interstellar night. The records are expected to remain intelligible for more than 1 billion years, making them some of the longest-lasting objects ever crafted by human hands. Etched between the grooves is a dedication to the makers of music, all worlds, all time. Today, as you leave Peabody, you join the long lineage of artists who have shaped our shared humanity, lifted our spirits, and carried us forward through history and now into eternity. You are not merely entertainers, you are makers of meaning, custodians of something timeless and profoundly sacred, the rhythms of humanity itself. Our wish is that your creations be discovered, experienced, and cherished in all times, all worlds. We can't wait to see and hear what you do. Congratulations, class of 2025.
Good morning. It is my pleasure at this time to present this year's Excellence in Teaching Award. The Excellence in Teaching Award was established in 1992 through the generosity of the Johns Hopkins Alumni Association as a way in which each of the divisions of the university can annually recognize the extraordinary dedication and accomplishments of at least one of our many fine teachers. May I ask Herbert Greenberg to join us here at the podium. Herbert Greenberg, in your long career as an artist and pedagogue, you have deftly balanced an impressive roster of performance and recording credits with a deep dedication to your studio, enriching the lives of students and audiences immeasurably. Students and colleagues find inspiration in your remarkable performance career, which includes collaborating as soloist with many of the world's leading conductors, performing over 50 concerti from Bach to John Adams, and recording for multiple labels. You were concertmaster of the Aspen Festival Orchestra for 17 seasons and have served as guest concertmaster for the National Arts Orchestra of Canada and the Houston, St. Louis, Oregon, Japan Virtuosi, Prague, and Bergen Philharmonic Orchestras, among many others. You were a member of the Minnesota Orchestra, associate concertmaster of the Pittsburgh Symphony, and for 20 years, concertmaster of the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra. When the BSO performed a nationally telecast inaugural concert to open the Joseph Meyerhoff Symphony Hall, you were called upon as a featured soloist for Strauss's Ein Heldenleben. An avid chamber musician, you were a founding member of the Peabody Greenberg Williams Trio and the Baltimore String Quartet, and your collaborators have included Isaac Stern, Pinchas Zukerman, William Primrose, and Yo-Yo Ma. You play the 1685 Jean Becker Stradivarius and are a custodian of that historic instrument. You take great pride in your association as concertmaster and solo violinist with the Defiant Requiem Foundation, having participated in the first performance of Defiant Requiem in Terezin, the site of the Theresienstadt concentration camp, and the events on which the work is based, and served as concertmaster for the soundtrack to that award-winning documentary film. As important as performance has been throughout your career, it is your passion for teaching that has fueled your artistic energies in recent decades. You have taken seriously your commitment to transmitting the great traditions you learned from Joseph Gingold. You have been a highly respected member of the violin faculty at the Peabody Institute since 1988, augmenting your full schedule of conservatory teaching with a commitment to teaching for the Peabody Preparatory and in master classes around the world. The expertise, mentorship, and ongoing support you provide has led many of your students to successful careers in chamber and orchestral music and in academia worldwide. Beyond the studio, you have taught chamber music, coached sectionals, and been a passionate advocate for Peabody orchestras. Your orchestral repertoire class has been a must-take elective for all violin students. Your leadership roles have included string chair, faculty chair, and coordinator of the violin department. Herbert Greenberg, like Strauss's Heldenleben, you have led a hero's life. In recognition of your many gifts and accomplishments, and with our profound gratitude for all that you are and the good that you do, it is our honor to present to you the Johns Hopkins Alumni Association's Excellence in Teaching Award for 2025.
So, I'm winging it. I have a few numbers down here that I want to talk about because I'm obsessed lately by numbers and time. And for instance, I come to school in the morning, park my car in the garage level, say hi to Fred, walk up 15 steps. I'm on the second floor, and then I do my daily 112 steps up to the fourth floor. And let me tell you, that's very interesting. When I was younger, I was quite fast. And then you get to the point where you want to beat the students, so you pretend that you're fast. And then you get to the point where the students are faster than you, and you pull over on the right and let people go by. I particularly like the guys that walk up 2 steps at a time. I can hear them coming. It has a life of its own in that stairwell. It's an artery. It's very special. And the few times that I've been on the elevator, I'm wondering, what the heck are people doing on that elevator? It takes forever to get up there, and it's stuffy, and you're going to be late to class. So, some other numbers. Something that I've often thought about. At my age, if I think of my lifespan and divide it into 2025, it's only 3 times back that I can be drinking with Beethoven. Just 3. That's not a lot of time. Time goes by very fast. You kids will find that time gets faster as you get older, but time just whisks by all of the time. It's only 3 lifetimes. My magic number is 27 point something. So that's when you divide your age into 2025. So if you look at a calendar and you see 31 days and you see 27 and you go back to 1, you're back to the birth of Christ. That's not long ago. That's not that long ago. So I'm going to talk about some very special numbers at the end. But remember what I said about Beethoven. That's the key to the numbers. Some other numbers. I figure that I've probably taught, give or take, 630. It's not exactly 630 students, because some students stay more than 1 year, obviously. But I've averaged out numbers for class and for the orchestra class. I've come up with a number 700. Also come up with a number of 20,160 lessons. I'm obsessed by these numbers. On Wednesdays, I leave my studio, go downstairs, then walk up 77 steps to get to 206C. And that's where we have our orchestra class. So it's a privilege for me to go into my studio, sit on my chair, have my teacher at my back, Mr. Gingold. I have a photo of Mr. Gingold, and his teacher, Eugene Izai. And every day I sit down to teach, I feel like I'm privileged to teach. And teaching is something that you keep doing, you keep growing every day. You know, many of us in music, we look for a goal, but a goal is one thing. In the bigger picture, it's each day being better than the day before. That's the most important thing about growing to become a great artist, no matter what we do, no matter what instrument we play. I just want to take a second, because I've been here so long. Listen to this for a second. I wrote this down. These are some of my fellow faculty members. Burl Sinofsky, who won the Queen Elizabeth competition and who sat next to my teacher in the Cleveland Orchestra when Leon Fleischer was making his historic Beethoven piano concerto recordings. Burl Sinofsky, Sylvia Rosenberg, Shirley Givens, Young Koo An, Victor Donchenko, Iquan Bey, Martin Beaver of the Tokyo Quartet, Violaine Melanson, Pam Frank, Suvin Kim, Midori, and now our current faculty with Ken Young Tsung, Judith Ingleson, Vadim Gluzman, and yes, my former student right here at Peabody, Li Ching. There's something special about having your student on the faculty. That's 15 people, another number. That's 15 people. But that is, in violin world, a who's who. You can't beat those names. Soloists, 4 teachers teach or taught at Curtis, an amazing violin faculty. In the orchestra class, combining my studio and the orchestra class, we have students playing in orchestras from Cyprus to the Israeli Philharmonic, to the countries of Europe, to the entire East Coast of the United States, to the Midwest, Chicago, Pittsburgh, Minnesota, Cleveland, West Coast, KBS in Korea, Hangzhou Symphony in China. I can go on and on. I can't remember everything, but that's also something that we should all be proud about at Peabody, that we have that happening at our school. So I wanted to just say a few things about time and how it passes us by. I started out with that a little bit. The 4 years that you're here are the 4 best years you're going to have of your life. It always works out that way, even if you don't think so. I know there's uncomfortable times where musicians, we have egos, we don't like what people tell us, we fight with this one, with that one, everything, you know, it's always, but you will find out. You will all find out when you get old like me that the best time of your life is right now. This is it. You'll see. So, lastly, I just want to give you some other numbers to think about. And somebody shout out what I'm talking about, okay? One of you kids shout out what I'm talking about. 127, 130, 131, 132, 133, 135. Anyone? Thank you. I always go to Paul for everything. Mr. Fleischer has talked about music. You can't smell it. You can't see it. You can hear it. You can't touch it. But you can feel it. And that's why we're all here. That is the reason why we are here today. We got hooked, and we decided to go into this direction. Now, there's this world, and there's that world of the late string quartets of Beethoven. And I ask you, I don't care if you're a brass player, because I listen to Gabrielli all the time. Cleveland, Chicago, and Philadelphia. I wore out the record. Whether you're a brass player, a wind player, a voice major, a pianist, a dancer, or candlestick maker, it makes no difference. The world that Beethoven lived in when he was totally deaf and spent the last part of his life with these late string quartets is another world entirely. It's another world of music. It's another level. It's way up there. And if you get a chance, listen to them, study them, and you'll be hooked on those too. So I want to thank our provost and this guy over here, our fabulous dean, his entire administration, the great staff that we have at Peabody, the faculty members behind us, all you kids, all the parents. I want to thank you all. I'm very honored about this. It's hard for me to accept things, so I'll do my best. And thank you all for listening. Thank you.
I am very pleased to call special attention to all the students who have received prizes or awards for specific achievements. Their names are listed in the program, those who are graduating today, as well as those who are not. On behalf of the Conservatory, I thank the many friends of Peabody whose donations have made these awards possible. I now ask all those students, both on stage and in the hall, to stand in their places so that we might applaud them for their accomplishments. The Azalea H. Thomas Prizes are awarded to the instrumentalist and the vocalist who graduate with the highest grade point average in music theory earned throughout the bachelor's degree program. I ask the following students to stand at their seats when their names are called. This year, the Azalea H. Thomas Prize for instrumentalists with the highest grade point average in music theory earned throughout the bachelor's degree program is awarded to Christian Canquesta, Sophie Chan, Alex Renhao Chow, Sarah Cummings, Mengbo Guan, Jiwon Jian, Calvin Mahalik, Ashley Prats, Noah Walker Sapp, Benjamin Tran, and Ningjin Zhang. Congratulations. This year's Azalea H. Thomas Prize to a vocalist with the highest grade point average in music theory earned throughout the bachelor degree program is awarded to Shan Yu Lee. Shan Yu could not join us today. We send congratulations. The Peabody Alumni Award was established by the Peabody Alumni Association and is annually awarded to the graduating student who attains the highest grade point average for the entire bachelor's degree program. I ask the following students to stand at their seats when their names are called. This year, the Peabody Alumni Award is given to Alex Renhao Chow and Noah Walker Sapp. Congratulations to all our award recipients. It is now my pleasure to introduce our student speaker, Noni Zhang.
Hello, everyone. Standing here today, I reflect on how unexpected this journey has been. At 26, I returned to school for my second bachelor's degree, but my path here was far from straightforward. I studied math, chemistry, and economics in high school, then pursued design at Parsons, thinking that would be my future. But life kept changing. The pandemic disrupted my career, separated me from my family for 2 years, and left me feeling lost. In that uncertainty, I turned back to music after 7 years since my last performance, and it became my way of healing. Now, I am a composer and multimedia artist, blending everything I've learned into my work. Peabody gave me more than just technical skills. It gave me a space to explore, collaborate, and grow. Through all these shifts, I've learned that life doesn't follow a single plan. Working with incredible faculty and fellow musicians pushed me to think beyond music and see the endless possibilities of artistic expression. It keeps changing. Our life keeps changing. And we never know where we'll end up. But that's what makes it exciting. Every experience, even the unexpected ones, is a treasure that shapes who we are. Speaking in front of people used to be difficult for me. I often stayed quiet, afraid of being seen. but I've learned that our voices matter. That's why I'm here today, to share my story and remind us all that no matter what life takes us next, we are capable of facing the unknown. We are young and we are brave. As artists and creators, we have the power to shape the world in ways we can't yet imagine. No matter what comes next, may we always have the courage to follow our hearts and make something meaningful. Congratulations, class of 2025.
Thank you, Noni, for your inspiring remarks and for everything that you've contributed here in your time as a student. So class of 2025, I will have some thoughts that I will share with you a little bit later in the program, but first, Peabody is first and foremost about performance. And last evening, we continued a graduation tradition of staging a special concert featuring some of our outstanding graduates. We continue this morning in that spirit of celebrating performance and honoring our graduates by inviting members of our graduating class to perform at the ceremony. Please welcome Angeline Wong and Nin-Chin Jun to perform Romance by Amy Beach. That is why I love working here. Yeah. So it is now my pleasure to bring to the stage our Peabody Award medal recipient and graduation speaker for today, Rakim. Rakim, you are a foundational figure in the history of hip-hop, one of the most influential and skilled MCs of all time. Few artists have had as great an impact on the development and progression of the art form's lyrical style as you have. Now referenced as one of the masters of the microphone, you first exploded onto the scene with the release of the iconic Eric B. as President in 1986 with longtime collaborator Eric B. The single marked a turning point in the rap world, raising the bar for future MCs and revolutionizing the way rhymes are delivered to this day. Tupac, Notorious B.I.G., Nas, Eminem, and Jay-Z have all cited you as a prime influence. Your intricately intellectual lyrics draw their force from your worldly experience, inner faith, and progressive contemplation, your liquid delivery fueled by a deep understanding of not just hip-hop, but also the jazz and R&B influences that have always surrounded you. You're the inventor of flow, building your rhymes on complicated patterns, ignoring bar lines, and earning comparisons to the likes of John Coltrane and Thelonious Monk. Your recordings, including the all-time classics Paid in Full, Follow the Leader, and The 18th Letter, have sold in the multi-millions worldwide. Billboard, Rolling Stone, MTV, and others consistently refer to Paid in Full as the greatest hip-hop album of all time, a claim that is often confirmed in audience polls. You have been recruited to add your stardom and talents to projects with Alicia Keys, Dr. Dre, Linkin Park, Mobb Deep, Jody Watley, Limp Bizkit, and Truth Hurts, among many others. Your uncanny innovation was the focal point of the critically acclaimed recreation of Bob Marley's Concrete Jungle, and has helped propel movie soundtracks such as Juice, Brown Sugar, The Rugrats, American Psycho, and 8 Mile to bestseller status. World-famous brands such as the Coca-Cola Company, LVMH, Nike, Adobe, Ford Motor Company, Major League Baseball, and the NBA have chosen you as a spokesperson. You not only continue to record and tour, releasing your latest album just last year, but also work with young artists signed to your own Raw Records. You've been named the #1 lyricist of all time by The Source magazine, received the coveted BET Lifetime Achievement Award, and has been nominated to the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Rakim, no serious discussion of hip-hop's greatest performers is held without a deferential accounting of your achievements, and you continue to lead where others follow. In recognition of all you have achieved and in anticipation of all you have yet to do, I am proud to bestow on you today the highest honor conferred by the Peabody Institute of the Johns Hopkins University, the George Peabody Medal for outstanding contributions to music and dance in America.
How's everybody doing? Everybody's all right today? How about the graduates? How y'all feeling, man? Congratulations, and you know, the world is yours, all right? I can't say too much that he hasn't said. I appreciate it, Dr. Bronstein. Thanks for those words. And quick story before I speak. When I was in school, my mother and father signed me out of high school. You know, the record came out, kind of did better than, you know, we expected. Russell Simmons and Leo Cohen called my mother and father and said, you know, we gotta sign him out of high school, you know, we got a tour coming up, you know, everything's ready to go. We did maybe 40-something states. And my mother and father took me in a room and sat me down and let me know, you know, the severity of, you know, what was going on. But long story short, I promised if they did it, that I would go back to school one day and get my diploma. I think this right here is something that they would say, you know, well done, and you did a good job, so thank you so much. To the University of Johns Hopkins, thank you so much. Growing up for me, I fell in love with music. You know, it was in my household since I can remember. My mother and father always played good music. Remember as a kid, you know, the family functions, or just, you know, maybe a weekday or Saturday morning when my mother and father was cleaning up. It's just always good music in the house. Came up on good R&B music, you know, artists like Gladys Knight and the Pips. I had to listen to my mother and father's music, you know what I mean? Until I got a little older and can buy my own records. But Gladys Knight and the Pips, Stevie Wonder, a recipient as well for the Peabody Award. Quincy Jones, Ruth Brown, my aunt, Kool and the Gang, Jackson 5, always good music. But as a kid, I remember whenever they would play jazz, it just hit different. And being young, you know, I didn't quite understand it. So, you know, I would look around the room and see, you know, the faces and how they was enjoying it and how it made them feel. You know, I would rather, you know, some Michael Jackson or some, you know, a little younger. But whenever it came on, I just noticed how the mood in the room would change and the feeling of the music would change. So as a kid, the first thing I noticed was the timing of the music was a little different. You know, it wasn't always 4/4 like R&B, a lot of R&B or hip hop. It's always 4/4 most of the time. But jazz has a different timing. So I remember sitting there and trying to figure out what we call a one. And I would listen and I would kind of watch and see where they was patting their foot, listen and see where the melody repeated itself. Then I would start counting and try to figure out, well, it's definitely not 4/4 time. But I kept listening to various artists and various music. And what that did for me is gave me a profound understanding of time and space. I played music as a kid when I was in school. I played saxophone. I loved knocking the drum off the drums, playing little drums I wasn't supposed to. But just love music. So playing the saxophone gave me a deeper understanding of music, reading music, and how to understand music. When rap came out, I felt I had an advantage. You know, I read music, I listened to the best music. My mother was a singer. She sang everything from jazz to opera. She even performed at the Apollo Theater in Manhattan. So I felt I had a little advantage. So again, when hip hop came out, I started listening and I started seeing what was going on, how the rappers was rhyming, and I started saying to myself, yo, I can do this, man. As I got deeper into it, I realized rap was, a lot of MCs, we call it rhythm and poetry. So as I got deep into it, I started to realize, like, I got a lot of different rhythms in me. At first, I didn't understand where they was coming from. But I would sit and listen to beats, and these different rhyme forms started coming to me with different cadences and rhythms, and so as I started dwelling on it and getting deeper, people started noticing there was a difference as well. As I went on, my phone is ringing. But as I continued rapping and rhyming and enjoying hip hop, I started to notice as well that my rhyme sounded a little different from a lot of other MCs. And I started realizing it was because of the jazz that I was listening to when I was young. Gave me a better understanding of, again, time and space. So when rappers was on a 1, 2, 3, 4, I was on my 16, 32, and trying to squeeze as many rhythms in a small space as I could. Well, that became like my trademark, and I found myself doing it, not, even realizing what I was doing. But I contribute that to jazz and just loving music and being a student and wondering what made the greats so great. John Coltrane was a big influence on my life. I used to listen to John Coltrane and wonder where he got his rhythms from. And I remember one song I heard, like I never heard him repeat the same melody in the song. So I said, yo, that's what I gotta do. I'm gonna make sure I never repeat the same rhythm in a rhyme. Every time I start a new bar, it's gonna sound different than the one previous. But I'm a rapper, but I got that from John Coltrane. Time and space. I remember there was this one song called Take 5, and I just thought it was a cool name. I love the song though, but I always wondered, like, why would they call it Take 5? Until I kept listening, and again, I was a young kid, and I realized it was written in 5/8 time. So again, these rhythms and this timing and all of this was affecting the way that I wrote my rhymes. I have some notes here. I'm not even following them. But just to, kind of let everybody know, where I came from and kind of, what pushed me to be who I am. But for my young people that's gonna take the world by storm, I got a couple words for you to remember, and it's probably, something you heard a million times. A million people told you the same thing. But it's a couple words that I always use whenever I get to the point where I feel that, I have nothing to write. I'm at the end of my rope, whatever the case is. And that's determination, dedication, and discipline. Those 3 words right there taught me how to stay focused, and no matter what I was feeling or what people was telling me, those words kept me in line, especially discipline. Because I realized to do the other 2, you had to stay focused and have discipline and push through. When people tell you, you can't do it, people tell you, it's too rough, it's too much, that's good. As long as you don't tell yourself you can't do it. Because the people that told me that I couldn't be who I am today is the reason why I'm here. a lot of times, like I said, you get to the end of the rope and you look for something to inspire you. I had many people that I admired, but sometimes you gotta dig deep down in yourself. And again, those were some of the things that I look for, those words and that strength. And again, a lot of people are gonna tell you that you can't do what you wanna do. But when you tell you that you can't do what you need to do, that's when it's a problem. Some people say, well, it's hard being perfect. Well, I say, you know, everything is hard. You just gotta push and believe in yourself. Because a long time ago, and we all went through this, when we was born, you was perfect. You know, you did, when you was trying to get to that egg, you didn't say, oh, this is too hard. You didn't say, wow, it's about 250 million people in this race. You understood the task, and whatever guided you, whether it was intuition or a sound, frequency, but whatever guided you, you got there. You had no information on where you was going. Nobody gave you directions. You didn't practice for it. Had no idea what you was doing. And you won. We won. So when I need to look deep and inspire myself, that's one of the things that I could pat my back and say, you did a good job, Rob. You know what I mean? So whenever, you know, things in life get rough, and, you know, you might feel you're at the end of the rope, things is getting hard, you look over your shoulder, you see them 250 million people coming. You did it before. You can do it again. Perfection is just a thought. It's just a way to judge what you're doing. The process, and you doing it, is what makes it what it is, man. So remember, whenever somebody tell you can't do it, or you tell yourself you can't do it, just remember you here. Nobody told you where that egg was, that you here. But now, you got 2 legs, you got 2 arms, you got a brain, you got people to love you, you got a support system. You even got instructions on how to do a lot of things. You even got haters to give you that extra push. You can't do it. Yes, I can. So remember, perfection is in you already. Congratulations, and the world is yours. To the Johns Hopkins University, thank you so much. Dr. Bronstein, thank you so much for this prestigious award. And peace and love, y'all.
Good morning. I am Stacy Cooper Patterson, Senior Director of Student Affairs, and it is my pleasure to present the recipients of the degrees of the Bachelor of Fine Arts and the Bachelor of Music to the Dean of the Peabody Institute, Dr. Fred Bronstein. The audience is requested to refrain from applauding until after the last diploma in each category has been awarded. Will the recipients of the Bachelor of Fine Arts please rise? Dean Bronstein, I have the honor of presenting to you the recipients of the degree of Bachelor of Fine Arts. Ian Maya Alum. Lily Isabel Perry. Micah Elliott Shapiro. Andrew Keith Van Allen. AJ Weingar. Would the recipients of the degree of Bachelor of Music please rise? Dean Bronstein, I have the honor of presenting to you the recipients of the degree of Bachelor of Music. Ashley Marie Prats. Ashley is also receiving the Bachelor of Music in Music Education. Yichen Liu. Ya-Im Sim. Hongyin Du. Noah Paul Frank. Noah is also receiving the Bachelor of Music in Recording Arts and Sciences. Mengbo Guan. Jiwoon Jeon. Munghan Jiang. Zichi Li. Sailin Peng. Winchin Chen. Xiaoyo Tu. Yingyi Qiang. Shayu Zheng. Noni Zhang. Arwin Brenna Ivy. Noah Walker Sapp. Kristen Elizabeth Isley. Roy Heng. Daniel Wu. William Waring Hazelhurst. Aiden Bennett Taylor. Aiden is also receiving the Bachelor of Music in Recording Arts and Sciences. Kobe Siegel. Noah William Ford. Colby Jerome Royston. Colby is also receiving the Bachelor of Music in Recording Arts and Sciences. Indra Carpio Patel. Laurel M. Fink. Eric Garduño. Max Jieshuan Nguyen. Thomas Sikra Schönebeck. Keller Remington. Xianshu Guo. Rocky Jin. Siddharth Nadkarni. Abigail Lorraine Stewart. Lauren Elizabeth Patton. Elizabeth Michelle Perez Hickman. Santo Villatoro. Christian Kang Cuesta. Kongu Lee. Yufeng Liu. Guan Yu Shou. Richard Gao. Gabriella Priska Handoku. Benjamin Vin Tran. Ninshin Zhang. Dunning Shui. Christian Kersey. William Collum Stubbs. Julia Richardson. Sarah Elizabeth Cummings. Jeffrey Marshall MacArthur. Sophie Lindsay Chan. Sumin Lee. Felix Shen. Angeline Wong. Marcus Ramel G. Julia Irene Mary Castrava. Jordan Rose Amato. Isabel Joy Boss. Suying Chen. Abigail Marie DeYoung. Maria Micaela DiLiaco Marin. And Cassidy Alessandra Wabin. Congratulations.
Okay, I'm back. All right, let me begin just with a bit of housekeeping, if I can, by inviting all of our graduates and families here today to please join us for a reception in the dining hall immediately following the conclusion of today's ceremony. And I want to welcome you all again. It is always so good to see not just our graduates, but the proud families on this very special and happy day. And it is indeed a happy day. At the same time, I think it's a serious moment. So I would begin with a quote that is relevant as you launch into the next phase of your careers at this important milestone. To quote business guru Peter Drucker, who said, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." And wow, are you all going out into the world at an interesting time to create those futures and build careers. You know, and we all know, that the life of an artist is, and has always been, both exhilarating and challenging. So the question becomes, how do you build the path for yourself, and how will you make a life with your art and make it relevant to people? How will you connect? In your time here at Peabody, you've developed skills to answer those questions. Now, how do you apply them in an evolving world, and to what end? And I want to ask you to think about this today. Arts are more than great craft, intuitive beauty, or even a profound statement of expression. Arts are about freedom of expression. But you then might ask, how can that be, as great arts have existed in societies that were not free? So I'll come back to that in a moment. But let's suppose that great art requires a free voice, or at the very least, benefits from it. At their most basic, arts are uniquely human and express the human condition, and that requires transparency, authenticity, and an ability to speak truth to power. As Plato said, poetry is nearer to vital truth than history. So if arts require a free voice, do arts thrive in a democracy as a vehicle for change? We've seen arts often at the forefront of protest movements. Folk music, in particular, has a rich history of that in the United States. And the flip question is, if the arts weren't imbued with such power, why would anti-democratic movements or societies censor them? Because they involve ideas, and ideas can be threatening, especially within a context of fear. And there's plenty of evidence of that in just the last 100 years. In Nazi Germany, specific art movements like Expressionism and Impressionism and others were thought to be degenerate art. Of course, the targeting of Jewish artists was monolithic as well as deadly. In circa 1930s Soviet Union, socialist realism, as it was called in the arts, was the acceptable mode in celebration of the state. Other styles were considered unacceptably bourgeois. And it was all closely monitored, and artists paid with their careers, and sometimes worse, for deviating from what was sanctioned as proper artistic expression. Or they carefully cloaked their true intentions within their creations for people to experience in a kind of language of code. And during China's Cultural Revolution, traditional art forms were shunned with the banning of what was called the Four Olds, which targeted customs, culture, habits, and ideas. And again, failure to adhere to the government's line often had serious consequences. It's in this context that we consider that earlier this year, the overnight purge of this country's national symbol for the arts, the John F. Kennedy Center for the Performing Arts, resulted in the immediate dismissal of its board and executive leadership after more than a decade of stewardship. Following closely on the heels of this institutional upheaval came the overturning of programming, including artists that canceled themselves out of protest, and artists whose shows were canceled, largely targeting programs emphasizing diversity of performers and art forms, implying that these were not legitimate part of our national story. Further changes at the National Endowment for the Arts have pulled the funding rug out from under independent artists and arts organizations of all sizes across the country. Now, I want to be clear, very clear, that I'm not suggesting that these changes at the Kennedy Center and the NEA are the equivalent of the historical examples cited. They are not. And in fact, it is within the purview of a sitting administration to make changes. But I do think recent events have raised important questions for artists and artistic organizations today. Questions that some of you have grappled with in your time here at Peabody, but that may require reconsideration in today's environment. Does the responsibility of the artist go beyond making something beautiful or meaningful? What does that mean for the artist? We know that we must not take freedom of expression for granted in the arts world. There needs to be continued advocacy and a commitment to stand strong for the independence of artists. It is every bit as essential as the First Amendment's guarantee of freedom of speech that we hold so dear in this country. Indeed, it is a matter of artistic freedom of speech. I've long advocated for artists to be flexible and adaptable. Circumstances today dictate we need that from artists more than ever as we find new ways to make our voices heard. And that means that you cannot just depend on your craft, but on so many other skills that surround that craft. More than ever, you have to be a proponent, not just for your art, but of ideas and your own independent voice. And you must be able to convincingly prosecute those ideas. And irrespective of this moment in which we find ourselves, remember that your career is not something done to you. You have agency. It is, as Peter Drucker noted, that the best way to predict the future is to create it. It's now up to you as both artists and advocates to create your future and the future of our field, and in that journey to renew the diversity, energy, and freedom of the arts in the world. It's a lot on your shoulders, but we chose this field because it is a calling, and with your Peabody training, you are ready for it. We are counting on you, we believe in you, and we will continue to be here to support you in the important work ahead. So tomorrow, you begin down that path, but today is still a day of celebration. So here's to all of you and everything you have already achieved in getting to this point, and I want to offer my warmest congratulations to this great class of 2025.